Okay, bear with me. I just want to make sure I've got everything. 6-layer super light carbon crown, speed injection twist face, machine milled back of club face, through slot speed pocket, TPS front weight, high strength carbon sole, aerodynamic asymmetrical sole design, MOI enhancing back weight, and an all new forged aluminium back ring. But to you and me, it's a new Taylormade driver. So, as you could see from that top line, there's lots of technology in these new drivers. This is the new SIM2 lineup. There's 3 new drivers. There's a SIM2, a SIM2 MAX, and a SIM2 D-Type. I mainly focus on the SIM2 and the SIM2 MAX in this video. Now, these are coming off the back of a fairly successful launch of the SIM drivers last year. This idea of shape in motion, a way that helps you swing the golf club as fast as you possibly can to get the most distance. That's the claim. There's lots of things we've seen before, but there's also some new things that we see in the SIM2. For example, the speed injection twist face. Those speed injections now are going to come in from the toe instead of the 2 ports on the face, which is a little bit different. Also, the face has been milled behind, apparently to give it more speed off the face. We've seen this from other brands. Certainly Callaway have been a big advocate of this over the last few years, making the face as obviously fast as they can by actually carving out the back slightly differently. But the big difference this year is this aluminium back ring. And yes, we call it aluminium here in the UK. The idea is that it completes the structure of the driver, so they can put a super light carbon crown on, a super light carbon bottom on, and it helps you swing it faster and again gives you more ball speed, more distance. We've heard it all before, right? So what I want to do, I want to take it to the driving range, out on the golf course, and also here in the home simulator on GC Quad. Let's get to the driving range first, because I wanted to figure out what it feels like, certainly what it looks like, and my first thoughts on the drivers. Looks wise first, these new SIM2 drivers look so similar to Sim last year. We've got the carbon crown, we've got the blue colouring, we've got the white, blue and black head covers. Quite modern, not too offensive. Now behind the golf ball, the SIM2 and the SIM2 MAX are so unbelievably similar. Like, without looking at the bottom of the driver heads, I can't really tell the difference between the two. They're both 460cc head shapes. They look so similar in head designs. The biggest difference apparently this year is the SIM2 MAX has a slightly different weight configuration to make it more forgiving. There's a bigger weight at the back, where the SIM2 hasn't got the massive weight at the back, and it's supposed to be a slightly lower spin model. And also something to notice in this year's model, the SIM2, there's no adjustable weights, there's no sliding bars. We've seen Taylormade bringing out the sliding bars for many, many years. They've not got it this year. Is that the case because it's not being used? Is it the case that it's not that effective? Either way, there is no sliding options, adjustability in these new SIM2 drivers. Sound and feel. These drivers sound phenomenal. I've been a big fan of the sound of Taylormade drivers since the very first M1 that they brought out with the carbon crown. And again, it goes with the same idea. These drivers sound phenomenal and they feel great. They feel springy off the face. I was only hitting range balls to start things off. And to be honest, it was a mega night. It was the super dark sky at Trafford Golf Centre. I was ripping drivers into the dark sky and it looked awesome. So that was my initial hits done with the SIM2 and the SIM2 MAX. First impressions, I couldn't tell the difference whatsoever. Not only looks, but also performance and feel. Very little in it at all. So it was time to take them on the golf course. Pro V1s when there was a bit more of a consequence. I enjoyed hitting them, I did, but again, very similar to the driving range, I could not separate the two drivers. For me, they were the same driver in every capacity. Sometimes I even tried to trick myself and just pick one of them up without looking at the bottom. I couldn't tell the difference. There was just nothing in it. I didn't feel like one was more forgiving than the other. I didn't feel like one was going any longer than the other. This year round, certainly without the adjustability sliding bars that we've seen in previous models, for me, these two drivers, SIM2 and SIM2 MAX, are almost exactly the same driver. Now, that all being said, doesn't mean I didn't like hitting them. I loved hitting these drivers out on the golf course. I felt like the performance was really solid. I love, and I can't stress this enough, I love the sound of these drivers. For me, the best sounding drivers of 2021. They sound awesome. So it was time to get them into here in the home simulator, Pro V1's GC Quad, to really dive into some numbers. Are the facts going to show any difference between these two drivers this year? So after thorough testing on the launch monitor, hitting the two drivers, the outcome was somewhat expected. Both drivers performed almost exactly the same. Now, the performance of both these drivers was not bad at all. I was getting 285 yards of carry distance on average, just under 160 miles per hour ball speed, and I was swinging both drivers on average at 111.5 miles per hour. The only tiny difference I could see was a very little bit of difference in the spin rate. The SIM2 was 100 RPM less spin, but honestly, bar that, next to nothing in performance, which really surprised me, because what's the biggest difference this year? Like, what's it going to be? Like, there's no difference in price, there's no difference in anything, if I'm honest with you. I just don't understand who would have one driver over another. That's just my findings that I discovered when I was testing these drivers. Now, the D-type. The D-type is the driver that's supposed to help slices of the golf ball, where the weight is more in the heel. It's helping turn the ball more to the left. Now, I've tested quite a lot of these anti-slice drivers this year from likes of Ping and Cobra and Callaway. They've all worked to some degree. I must admit, this D-type didn't move the ball left more than I would expect at all. For me, I could still hit it fairly straight, and when I even tried to slice it, I still absolutely sliced it. The biggest thing I'm finding so far with these drivers is the weighting that they've moved. This new TPS weighting at the front just doesn't seem to be making that much of a difference. It almost doesn't seem substantial enough. It doesn't seem heavy enough to make any real difference. So then the final test I wanted to carry out was one that I've actually done with the Callaway drivers this year and the Ping. I brought out an old driver, one from 4 years ago, the second version of the M1 driver, super popular driver, to test it against this. Now, you think with all the technology, all the R&D, everything that goes into these drivers, the twist face, speed injection, milled club face, aluminium back ring, you'd expect some big gains, right? Well, in 4 years, we found that the SIM2 drivers over the second version of the M1 went a grand total of 4 yards further. 4 yards in 4 years, which is crazy, because it's almost the same distances we saw with the Ping drivers and the Callaway drivers, roughly a yard per year. However, what I did find with the Ping and Callaway, the newer models were more forgiving. When you didn't hit them out the middle, they still performed really well. Now, it's a weird one with SIM2 because of twist face. You'd expect, well, surely that's going to work better for you. Now, sometimes I did see examples of that. I hit a shot from low heel and that twist face helped it, some degree, find middle of the fairway. It was either that or a bit of luck or whatever it was. But also there was times where I hit high toe, and that's a problematic shot for me anyway. And with a driver like this with the twist face and the toe is more flared out, I definitely lost more shots to the right because of it. So I can't say it is more forgiving, and that's really down to twist face. So in summary, the SIM2 drivers this year, first off, are unbelievably similar. SIM2 and SIM2 MAX, I can't separate them at all. That doesn't mean they're bad drivers. They performed really well. They were fast. They felt fantastic. They sound amazing. And I think they're going to be very aspirational. One, because of the looks and the shelf appeal. Might not suit everyone's eye, but I do think they're good looking drivers. And also the fact you've got some of the best players in the world using them. Your Dustin Johnson, your Tiger Woods, your Tommy Fleetwood, your Rory McIlroy. It's going to make people want to try these drivers. But just something to bear in mind. If you've already got a driver from Taylormade in the last 3 or 4 years, you might not see a massive difference, if any at all. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try it. Just be aware, a lot of these marketing claims and technology stories are just that. They're claims and stories. Guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned, lots more to come, and we'll see you next time.